Happy day, students. Our next chapter is from history, chapter number 3, the Delhi Sultans. In this video, we shall see about how the Delhi Sultanate, that is, 5 dynasties that ruled the Indian subcontinent for over a very great period of time, 320 years. Before that, we need to understand what a sultan means. Sultan is an Arabic word which means king, a person who possesses supreme power. To simple words, we can say a supreme ruler. Dynasty, a line of hereditary rulers from the same family. So the Delhi Sultanate includes a lineage of rulers who had great power and expanded in the 12th century. Delhi was found in the 11th century. The transformation of Delhi into a capital started in the 12th century. Delhi was identified as important in 13th century as a capital. In 12th century, Delhi became an important city under the Tomara Rajputs. Delhi became the capital under the Tomaras and Chauhans. Delhi also became an important commercial center. Delhi became a very important commercial center under the Tomara Rajputs and the Chauhans of Ajmer. Many rich Jaina merchants lived in the city and constructed several temples. Coins minted here, which were called Delhiwal, had a wide circulation. In the 13th century CE, the rulers of Delhi Sultanate established Delhi as their capital city. The city of Delhi would become the center of a vast kingdom. How did the historians find about the Delhi Sultans? That's a big question. Right, with a given clue, it is with the help of the inscriptions, coins, architecture, and specially made manuscripts, which had a special name too. Now, before going into what that special manuscript is, let's just see the steps involved in making that manuscript. Start with preparing the paper, followed by writing the text. The third step is melting gold and flowing it onto the blocks created, preparing the binding. So this is how the making of manuscript was. An added point, the melted gold was used to highlight important words and passages. Boru, which is commonly called as a reed plant, was used as a writing tool. The writing surface was a handmade paper which was smoothened using a keek stone, which is a special type of stone. And black and red were the colors of the ink that were used to write the manuscript. Alright, so now we shall see about the special manuscript document that I mentioned a little earlier. The name of the special document is Dwarik. Why it is so special? Because not all the learned men get to write this Dwarik. The secretaries, administrators, poets, and courtiers who could recount events during the Sultanate's period and who also had the influence to give advice to the rulers on their governance and emphasizing the importance of justified rule could get a chance to write the Dwarik. The Dwarik was written in Persian language, which was then the court language. There are three important details about the Dwarik. What are they? Let's see now. Point number one. The authors of the Dwarik lived in the cities and hardly ever in the villages. As I told, the authors recount the events that happens in the courtyard, so they are given the privilege to stay in the cities. Right. They often wrote their histories for sultans in hope of rich rewards. The authors advised rulers to maintain two important things: ideal social order based on the birthright and gender distinctions. Only the authors had the privilege to share the ideas and not everybody. Now, regarding this Dwarik, there's an interesting fact that's observed. Circle of Justice. What is the Circle of Justice? Who wrote about this? Let's know it. Fakir-e-Mudabir, who belonged to 13th century, was an important scribe during that time period. He wrote about the Circle of Justice. He had mentioned in his chronicle that the survival of kings, soldiers, and peasants are interconnected. He says, a king cannot survive without soldiers, and soldiers cannot survive without salary. So, revenue tax from the peasants was considered as the source of the soldier's salary. Interesting, right? Fine. A peasant can stay happy and pay revenue only when the king produces justice and honest governance. So, since that seems to be like an interconnected circle, and that is why it was rightly called as circle of justice. Right. Now, getting back to birthright. It was observed that the nobles inherited rights to govern because they were born in such families. And gender distinctions, this refers to social and biological differences between men and women. Also refers to bias in society, which is men were considered to be more superior than women. Talking about gender distinctions, a special note on Razia Sultan. Her time period was between 1236 to 1240. She was Sultan Iltutmish's daughter. She became a sultan in the year 1236. Most people couldn't accept women as a ruler. Nobles couldn't accept her to rule independently, so they planned to remove her from the throne, from the power, and that is why her reign was only 4 years. There is a very famous chronicle written by 13th century chronicler Minhaj-e-Siraj. He is written about Razia Sultana, his thoughts about Razia. His thought on Razia Sultana, according to God's creation, since she did not fall under the column of men, how did she gain from all of her excellent qualities? There were coins and inscriptions made during Razia Sultana's time period, which mentioned that she is the daughter of Iltutmish Sultan. In contrast, like the one we observe about Razia Sultana, there is another case, the Queen of Rudramadevi, who ruled between the time period of 1262 to 1289, and the Kakatiya dynasty of Warangal, Andhra Pradesh. Rudramadevi changed her name, changed her identity on the inscriptions and coins, and pretended she was a man. Also, there's another case about a ruler named Didda in Kashmir, who ruled between 980 to 1003. Didda is the name that comes from Didi, which means elder sister. Didi is the fond name called by her subjects, people who belonged to the court of the ruler. Hope the part 1 video of Delhi Sultans was interesting. Let's meet back in part 2 video for more content on the Delhi Sultans. Thank you. Have a nice day.